Man, oh man, what a reversal off that low. It must be the end of the quarter. Boy, talk about volatility here on Wednesday. Had a pretty good day today in our trade room. Hope you guys made some money as well. It's Wednesday night. I want to make sure we have a game plan to make some money on Thursday. Today's big moves. Some big moves on the charts today. Big moves today means some really big opportunities to make some money on Thursday. I'm going to cover all my favorite trades in tonight's video to make sure you get a game plan to make some money tomorrow. Before we jump in and get this video going tonight, as always, make sure you subscribe to our channel. That way you don't miss tomorrow night's video upload. And if you enjoyed the video tonight, as always, I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you enjoy my content here on the YouTube channel, hit that like button for me and give me a shout out in the comment section below. Thank you so much for sticking around, tuning in, and supporting the video here tonight. But enough of the intro, right? Thursday is not going to trade itself. And I'll tell you, boy, markets finally shrugging off the Fed speak earlier on this week with nice big moves here for today. Where are the best trades setting up for Thursday's trading session? Everything's pretty bullish right now, as you can see. Boy, S&P bullish, Nasdaq bullish. Oil is pulling back, but, we're still kind of waiting for that deep pullback in an overall bullish market right now. We're definitely bullish. I got some ranges on the chart, so I'd love to get some breakout pullbacks on both the S&P and the Nasdaq. I've definitely got some potential reversals on my radar, maybe some double bottom crown reversals. There's ways to make money on the short side. There's ways to make money on the long side here on the S&P and Nasdaq. We'll cover all the details here tonight. It could be a very busy day tomorrow morning in our trade room on the S&P and the Nasdaq. Over on oil, been waiting for this deep pullback all week. I've got pretty much just a handful of levels down here. I would love to trap in some bears and use those stops as fuel. Looking for some bear traps, maybe some breakouts going higher on the crude oil as well. So, boy, lots of really great trades we're tracking for tomorrow. Now, before we talk about each individual trade that you guys have a game plan for Thursday, let's all get on the same page for news tomorrow because there is some more news coming out. We've got two things you want to be aware of. One, of course, is that GDP number coming out at 8:30 Eastern Time. That will likely be the initial catalyst tomorrow morning. We, of course, open our trade room at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. So, of course, we'll have a front row seat for that GDP number. And then don't forget, everybody is listening to Fed speakers right now, especially after the banking crisis we saw last week. And so we'll hear from Susan Collins. We'll hear from Thomas Barkin tomorrow afternoon. So if you're around tomorrow afternoon, we might get some good reactions from the Fed speak tomorrow shortly after the lunchtime session. So keep that on your radar, 8:30 Eastern Time tomorrow. And, of course, don't forget, as we go into the end of the month, we do expect to see more volatility. We saw a very sharp volatility spike here today. We expect more of those unexpected moves to kick up a little bit as we go into the end of the month, end of the week, and, of course, end of the first quarter. Can't believe we're talking about March 31st on Friday. So keep that stuff on your radar. Increased volatility, 8:30 GDP, 12:45 Fed speakers, who I'm getting excited just talking about it here right now. Now, back to our charts, though, because, of course, the money is made on the charts. I'm going to cover all my favorite trades across all three of these markets right now. If you like making money, definitely watch all the way to the end because every trade I talk about tonight can be applied to your favorite market. I'll tie it all together, so don't just click off after your favorite chart. Make sure you stick around all the way to the end. Take some screenshots, grab some notes, and if you got any questions, hit me up in the comment section below. Let's go S&P first. We'll go Nasdaq, and we'll wrap things up. Oh, we definitely will. On the crude oil futures. Couple things. First of all, guys, these are tick charts here tonight. You can see all the time frames in the upper left-hand corner. They'll all be tick charts. This is the 21 EMA. It's not the only indicator that I use, but it's one of the most important indicators we use in our strategy and, of course, in our trade room. And as always, I do like to give you guys some additional charts to look at. I'll link them up in the description of the YouTube video. I've got some 60-minute charts. I've got some 4-hour charts. I use those higher time frames to give me things like the directional bias, give me major turning points. So if you want to see kind of what the behind the scenes looks like from these videos, definitely check those links out in the description. It'll be a good companion for the chart you're seeing here right now. What's the most important factor in finding the best trades on the S&P, really the S&P and the Nasdaq here for tomorrow? Well, there really are kind of 4 key insights right now. One, we're obviously pretty bullish overall overall here. Besides yesterday afternoon, after that Fed speaker dragged the markets lower all day yesterday, we've been pretty bullish all week this week. On the 60-minute chart, we're still got a pretty bullish overall bias. The most important clue that I think we have on the chart right now is this trading range. Ranges act like magnets, and you'll notice right now we have a breakout of that range. Markets love to break out, pull back, and bounce off of these top, in this case, the top of that trading range. This is obviously called a breakout pullback. That's a really big clue, especially if we think buyers are trying to buy the dips as they make their way up to a key area of resistance up around 40.73 3/4, right? So we do expect buyers to be trying to buy the dip, and the breakout pullback will be a really, really effective way to do it. Another big clue on this chart tonight is this spike in channel. Now, spike in channels are really great clues because oftentimes we'll see buyers come in off the low of that channel, which conveniently lines up off the high of that trading range. And also, too, we oftentimes see deep pullbacks on spike in channels that go down into the base of the channel, basically where the channel runs into that spike going higher. And let's face it, we saw this really, really big move in the overnight last night, and of course we never really got a deep pullback. So end of the month, end of the quarter, it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if we saw a really, really deep pullback for buyers to kind of buy nice and low. Now, as you can imagine, that deep pullback certainly gives us reversal opportunities off the high. It gives us bear trap opportunities off the low. And I'll tell you, that would really be one of my favorite trades for tomorrow, is waiting for that deep pullback, trapping in some bears, and running back up to potentially retest this high and maybe even further here tomorrow morning. So as you can see, the kind of the two key areas you want to be thinking about is I'd love to buy some pullbacks. I have to be a bit careful though buying the pullback right here because again, we're pretty high up on the chart, right? And you'll see this on the 60-minute charts. I put the link in the description there for you. You'll notice we're pretty high up on the ladder right now. So I've got to be a little bit careful being a buyer on a relatively shallow pullback. And again, if we get that roll lower, right, I'd love to look for some reversals going lower and then pick it up to buy right there. So I'm going to cover those details here for tonight. Let's talk about how to buy a shallow pullback first. Then we'll talk about if we keep on grinding higher, because we may not pull back until later in the session or at least sometime in the pre-market tomorrow morning. And then later on in the video, I want to talk about if we get that deep pullback, how to make money on the reversal, how to pick it up off of that low. So let's break it down here right now. We'll go step by step. That way you know how to make money no matter what the market throws at you here for tomorrow. My biggest challenge, like I mentioned earlier, I like the idea of buying that pullback off that channel, but my biggest challenge right now is location. I'm a little bit higher up the ladder than I'd like to be here. I have to anticipate, especially with end of the quarter volatility, I have to anticipate the bears. They may be trying to shoot this thing back lower. The buyers may not be too eager to buy off of that low. So if I don't think there's a lot of buyers that want to be there, I have to find some sort of other catalyst, right, to help that trade work for me. And this is where failure patterns are going to come in handy. Just as we talk about in our free trading course, I'm looking to ultimately trap some of these bears getting short, right? Anticipate now bears trying to short off the high, drag this thing lower. Let's try to trap them in, let them try a couple times, and use their stops as fuel for a run higher. This is just like the failure setup I talk about in the free trading course, but because we're so high up and the potential for that sharp pullback, I'd like to give those bears the benefit of the doubt, let them try a couple times and use stops as fuel from there. Now, obviously, if the bears can hold that pullback and run this thing lower, then we start looking for some shorts off the high and then pick it up right for that long off the low. I'm going to talk about that more as we go here in a moment. What if we keep going higher, though? What if the market keeps on running higher here, right? If we keep going higher, as I say in the notes down bottom here, if we keep going higher, what I'll probably do then is start looking for new channels. So, for example, right, let's say we keep going higher here a little bit. We start grinding a bit higher here. What we'll do is we'll adjust these channels out a little bit wider, right, like that. If we keep going higher here, now we wait for that pullback. Remember, get below the moving average, get the bears to come in, right? Let them try a couple times and use their stops as fuel. What I'd like to do on this is keep on adjusting that channel higher. If we do keep on grinding higher, use things like my failure pattern, below the moving average, the pullback combination. We talk a lot about this. It's part of the price action cycle, as you guys are learning in the free trading course, right? So if we keep going higher here, right? We keep going higher here. I'm going to keep on ratcheting up that channel and keep on waiting for that pull, because again, we got a lot of resistance up overhead. I don't want to be a buyer too high here, right? Get underneath that moving average, trap those bears in. Remember, we don't expect there to be a lot of aggressive buyers down there because of how high we are. We need those bears to get trapped in, use their stops as fuel, that failure, that pullback, maybe even a strength trade. Let me talk about in the free trading course. Speaking of strength trades and failures and traps, I've talked a lot about, again, the free classes so far. I know that most of you guys have taken our free trading course. You've learned all the setups, right? The failure patterns, using stops as fuel, the traps, the strength moves, like I'm showing right now. But listen, if you're here for the first time tonight, if you haven't taken that free trading course and learned all the entry tactics, I'll put a link up there for you in the upper right hand corner. Grab that link and take that free trading class, because I'll tell you, the strategy you'll learn in that free video series will show you a simple trick to know exactly where the best winning trades will be each day, and it'll help you start making money by teaching you 4 different entry patterns to help kickstart you making money on your own account. If you're missing too many good trades right now, or if you're taking too many losses, grab that link that popped up there. Definitely take that free class. You're going to learn all about how to use stops as fuel for failures, pullback combos, and of course on our way up to that bullish objective. So we're looking for a pullback, and again, if we keep on going higher here, right, I'm just gonna be waiting for that pullback, trap those bears in, and keep the and keep the party going. Now let's talk more details here of what happens if we end up rolling over right off of that high. Like I said earlier, I'd like to pull back here, trap these bears in, and go higher. What if they roll over and go off that high here? Let's go to the Nasdaq right now. Nasdaq is very, very similar here to the S&P 500. There are, again, we get a bull overall bias on the 60-minute time frame right now. We have a range for a range breakout pullback. Same basic idea here. We're running into overhead resistance, which is why I'm going to be a little more careful on that breakout pullback. Let those bears get trapped in and use their stops as fuel. And of course, that spike in channel, right? The spike in channel is gorgeous here on both the S&P and the Nasdaq. So how do we make money now if we tumble off of this high? If we tumble off the high, the key is going to be traps getting short, and then crown reversals, double bottoms off the low. Let's talk about this. If we start popping lower and grinding down, we pretty much know where the bears want to go here. Now, be aware, we may end up popping lower than we think. We may still end up pulling back in 1, 2, right, for that failure back up again. But if we start pulling back and start grinding down, now the best way to short this, again, remember, we're overall bullish, so I can't be too aggressive trying to sell this first pullback, right? Once I get this market, though, grinding down, the best way to short these now, watch closely, is draw a trend line off that low, bring it up around those highs, and as I always say, look left, right? Look left, find some prior swings, right? Think about that channel coming down, find some prior swings, and then look for a prior swing that lines up right around the top of that channel. Prior swings are where traps live. Like in this example, get above the moving average, get buyers coming in for a long. At this point now, that momentum turns off the high with a good idea of where the market wants to go next. Looking for buyers to step in, trap them in with a failure as we make that move lower. The one thing about this short though is we need to start seeing it grind down, right? Grind down. It needs to kind of pop lower and begin to kind of grind down, the grinding motion of the price action is very, very important here to signal that momentum has shifted off the highs there. Look for those bull traps, look for those buyer failures, maybe even a pullback combination. My favorite trade though is that bull trap off the high of that channel. Now, once we get down around this area, this is where you expect to see more buyers coming in. Why would I say that? Well, first of all, we're an overall bull bias, and so I lean on that bigger picture direction to kind of filter out what direction trades I want. The second big thing is the size of this move. You know, we talked about in last night's video, we talked about how these rotations off the low can be pretty powerful, and boy, oh boy, was it powerful, right? Like I said before, quite a volatile reversal that we saw there. So the bottom line is it's a very big move, and we really never got, I mean, we definitely got some pretty nice deep, relatively deep pullbacks, but we never really got that really deep pullback we thought we might get this morning in our trade room. So we have to think there are probably lots of buyers waiting below prior swings, especially at the base of this spike in channel. So once we get, if we can get this roll going lower here, this is where I'd like to pick it up and buy it. But what's my challenge going to be? Momentum. You know, we talk about this all the time on these videos. You want to ask yourself, how is my location and how is my momentum? Well, this is a great location to be a buyer down here because you're buying low in a very big bullish move going higher. So location is primo, but momentum at that point, if we roll all the way off this high, that's going to be a lot of bearish momentum, which means that trying to pick a bottom is going to be very difficult. So if we end up all the way back down at that low, there are really three basic patterns I'll be watching for tomorrow morning with all the members in the trade room, and I want you guys to be aware of them as well. The first one is a crown reversal. Now, what's a crown reversal? Well, think of it this way. If we have all of that bear momentum going lower, what do we have to expect? The bears are probably going to try pretty hard to keep it going, right? They're probably not going to give up. This is not some minor pullback. Remember, if we see a big bull run up and a minor pullback, I can simply wait for the bears to try to short and use my failure pattern, right, to buy it back up. Failure into pullback combination, right? You guys learn about these inside that free trading course. But this is not the same thing, right? This is a very, very deep pullback now, much bigger pullback. So now we have to give the bears the benefit of the doubt, right? We have to let them try a couple times. And because it's so strong going lower, we have to anticipate they're going to try to retest that low. I do like these double bottom reversals as well, which we'll talk about here in a moment. The key component, though, is because of all that momentum off the high and because we're overall bullish, I'd like to see if I can trap the bears in. Let them try a couple times, right? Let them try twice. And you have to remember that when you get these big rotations off the high, the odds of a retest of that low are pretty good. And so I want to make sure I use, again, what I call a crown reversal pattern. It's basically a two-try failure with a trap low. It's a slightly more advanced kind of variation of a two-try failure pattern like you guys are learning in the free trading course. Now, these types of crown reversals, they oftentimes will punch up. And at that point, where does the market want to go? It wants to go back to retest this high. The key now is looking for bear traps as we go higher to make sure you're not buying very high. So these are the two trades I'm watching for, right? If we get that, again, that strong reversal off of the high, we may not get that ability to trap the bears in and use stops as fuel off the breakout pullback. I would like to, but again, we may not get that because of the size of the move that we saw yesterday. Big move up the high, trap those bears in, use that crown reversal, and then don't forget, these will oftentimes connect off the highs, off that low, and you'll oftentimes find this beautiful new channel and a beautiful trap entry off of that channel low. Target, of course, now is back up to retest the high. I like that setup a lot. I'll be keeping that on my radar here tomorrow. Another variation of that is that deeper pullback. And again, when you have all of that strength going lower, if we have that much strength going lower, oftentimes now the bears will come in. Remember, they're going to want to retest that low, right? They want to retest that low. And so if they do run this thing back lower and retest the low now, think about the scenario, right? Professionals, more experienced traders are selling high. We now can anticipate now rookie traders chasing after it. One of my favorite kind of reversal trades is we oftentimes will go a little bit through that low, right? A little bit through that make that double bottom, and then all of a sudden, right, the FOMO traders come in. These are assumed to be inexperienced traders here. They come in, they get roped in, they get trapped around a level of support. I say trapped, right? They get trapped below the 21 moving average, right into a key area of support. Remember, at this point, overall bull market, spike in channel, horrible place to be selling. Hopefully they do, though, because then we can use their stops, right? As I always say, think about where their pain is and buy right into their pain point. These, again, oftentimes like to really punch, and as they punch and run higher, I like to go out, find a new channel off the high, mark off that low, and again, go looking left, find those prior swings, and as we always say, don't miss, right? Don't miss that first test. Guys, this could be a trap setup. It could be a failure pattern, pullback combo, a strength trade. Again, you're going to learn all about those entry setups, like I mentioned earlier, inside that free video series I mentioned linked up in the upper right-hand corner. So that is also something to keep on our radar here for tomorrow. I told you 3 different ways to do it. Here's the final one. This is the least desirable one, but we better be ready for it because it is the end of the month, end of the quarter volatility next 2 days here. Let's say we do get that roll lower. We start grinding down. We get that bull trap, right? We finish off the move now, and now there are so many buyers waiting here that we don't get the 2 tries. We don't get the crown reversal off the low. We don't get the double bottom, right? The market simply V-bottoms and just springs right back up. What do you do in that situation? Remember, it's very difficult with that strong rotation like that, very difficult to pick that bottom. You know, that momentum is very, again, good location, but bad momentum. And of course, the last thing I'm going to do is I don't want to buy it as it's going higher, right? Then we're defeating the purpose. We want to buy low. We don't want to buy high. So what is a trader to do with those V bottoms? When you see V bottoms like that, the best bet, and remember, the situation is we have to remember we don't want to buy high. We want to buy as low as we can. So what I'll do is find a new trend line off that high, find a channel off the low. See what I'm doing here, right? And then go out, look left, and find those prior swings and grab those trap entries. As you'll learn in the free trading course, traps are the best way to trade whenever you're worried about, in this case, buying too high, right? Get that bear trap below that prior swing. What'll happen is you don't want, again, you don't want to chase it as it goes higher. You want to wait for that little trap entry there. That'll get you in nice and low. And again, targets will be right back up to retest the high. All right, guys, so this is my vision as if we get that big roll going lower here. Again, if we do keep going higher, I'll simply adjust that channel going higher, wait for that deeper pullback, trap those bears in, and keep the party rolling up to the next big bullish objective, which is 13,082 on the Nasdaq. So game plan's pretty straightforward here on the NQ. If we happen to roll over and blast and keep going, we'll talk more about that tomorrow morning in our trade room. Unfortunately, I can't cover everything on these short YouTube videos, but tomorrow morning, though, we'll fill in any missing pieces at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Let's wrap it up here tonight now over on the crude oil. Oil, of course, Still a bull market, still waiting for that deep, deep pullback we've been talking about all week this week. Been a bit slow on the oil. There are, I guess, three key components here on the oil. Again, on the 60-minute chart, you'll see linked up in the description of the YouTube video. We're very bullish right now, and we have this really big move. Look at the size of that move, and we've been talking about this all week, right? We've been waiting for that really nice deep pullback here on the crude oil, and now it feels like we're starting to get that deep pullback. Now, deep pullbacks are great for risk reward, right? If I get a really deep pullbacks are fantastic because I can take a small amount of risk for a nice big reward, but what's the price you pay? Remember, there's no free lunch. There's no free lunch when it comes to trading. Oftentimes, the greater your risk reward is, right, the more enticing the trade is, usually the price you pay is momentum, right? The odds of that reversal are lower. It's amazing how trading works, right? As your reward gets bigger, momentum, of course, is more and more against you. So we have to be aware of that kind of situation as we look for that deep pullback. A range. This is one of the biggest clues here right now. It's a bull market, you can see here, into that trading range, right? So, of course, we break out, pull up into that range. Ranges act like magnets. We mentioned yesterday that markets love to pull back and then slingshot or rotate right through that trading range. Buyers would love to go back into that range and possibly slingshot maybe towards that 77 big objective we've been talking about this week. And then you've got the final clue here is that spike and channel. Spike and channels again. Why are they important? Well, because they like to pull back. Markets love to pull back right into the base. All right. Imagine now where that spike up goes, right? There's your base into that spike and channel. You'll notice too, we've had this 71.67 level on our radar. I mean, pretty much all week here this week. 71.67 is a big previous top. I mean, it's tough to imagine a better place to buy the deep pullback than somewhere around that 71.60 area here for tomorrow. On top of that, we've got that range that we had from yesterday, the amount above the range, the amount below the range. So lots of reasons to think the buyers are waiting down here, and a great location to buy. But again, the challenge is going to be momentum. So we have a range overhead. I want to be ready for, sometimes what happens is sometimes we don't get that deep pullback. Sometimes these ranges, they're just such magnets and they drag the price right back higher, especially with the situation happening, that drama continued going on in Ukraine. And so how would we buy this market right now? How would we buy it if we didn't get that deep pullback? The key is bear traps. So what's the problem, right? If we go higher here, now we're effectively kind of what? We're buying high, right? We're buying effectively pretty high here because we haven't got that deep pullback yet. This is where those trap setups are going to come in. We talked about this a few moments ago on the Nasdaq with that V bottom, right? We don't want to chase it going higher. And how do we buy it? If we have to chase it, we look for traps, right? Traps are always going to be your bread and butter whenever you're forced, right? And now why would I be forced to buy high right now? Because very bullish overall on the 60-minute, range above us, acting as a magnet. So if we do start gravitating higher and we start seeing the bears come in and swing at this thing right now, a nice strong signal candle, and you're learning about signal candles in that free trading course, a nice strong signal candle will give you that long signal to go back up and retest the high. In these situations, those ranges are magnets. Remember though, markets love to rotate through that high. So just like we have this range right here, and I'm measuring the amount above, amount below, if we were to end up kind of slingshotting off the low of this range right now, the amount below the range can be now projected above the range, and that will give you a pretty good target there. Obviously take some off at that high, but leaving that runner, and again, what it looks like right now, up around that $75 a barrel area would be a good runner to take. So if we do end up going higher without going lower here, right, we'll definitely look for bear trap for the entries and of course breakouts. what do I mean by a breakout? Well, if we roll up like this, right, if we end up running and kind of slingshotting off of that low, there are a couple different breakout patterns I like to use. One, of course, is a pop and grind breakout. If we were to get that bear trap overnight and get that punch going higher, a lot of times these things will punch up and start to grind like that. It's basically a short squeeze, right? The bears are trapped, the price squeezes, and at that point, all the bears are getting forced out, and it causes the market to kind of grind and grind. If that's the case, these are pretty easy, right? This is one of my favorite breakout patterns in a range environment like this. Draw off that high, find that channel off the low. Think about now the top of that range, right? Those breakout pullbacks, and look for things like bear traps right off the low. Look for things like seller failures below the moving average. You'll see a lot of examples of these in that free trading course, right? So again, this would be if we, again, looking for those bear trap entries if we go higher. And of course, if we do end up slingshotting higher here, finding that new channel and then looking for entries off that channel, even looking for those entries, right, pulling back, top of that range, trapping those bears in, right? And remember, anytime we see a strong move in one direction like this, we're expecting a retest of that level. I can't think of a better way to do that than to go out, find a larger channel there, right, and start pinning those bears below that 21 EMA. I like that idea if we don't get this deep pullback. Now, if we do get that deeper pullback, and again, this could be, you noticed earlier, right? I had the measured move on there, 1 leg, 2 leg, 3 leg. That gives me that area. Obviously, you got to like this area at 72.19 because of that swing low, and you can't think of a better place there, that 71.67 area. Again, deep pullbacks are great, but they cost us what? Momentum. So if we end up going lower, I have to anticipate the bears may not be as easy to fight off as they normally would, and because of that, I want to let them try a couple times and give myself their stops, right, as fuel, if you will, for that trade going higher. So the deeper a pullback we go, the more momentum comes in, the more I have to respect those bears because they could easily come in and punch this thing back down again. Once they try a couple times, though, then you got them, right? Then you know exactly where their stops are. I'd like to use one of those 2 try failures. If we're lucky, we'll get the failure into pullback combination as we make that run higher, that failure into bear trap combination going higher, right? Because we don't want to buy too high there. So I'm watching to trap those bears in. Now, again, I mentioned earlier this on the NASDAQ. If we were to go all the way down into my favorite location for tomorrow, now we have a hell of a lot of momentum, right? Now the strength of that move lower suggests we could easily roll over and retest that level. These are scenarios where crown reversals come in. 1 try, 2 try, get that trap low, right, for that entry, okay? Or let them, again, bears may come in, all of that momentum now, they could easily hold some pullbacks, retest that low, trap the bears in, the sellers here, trap them in, use stops as fuel, failure. And remember, when you get these deep pullbacks and they come in now and retest that low, oftentimes all the rookies, they get roped in there. And these will oftentimes really punch back higher. 1, 2, and again, the reason why you want 2 tries is because of all of this momentum, right? It's not like a shallow pullback, right? It's not like a shallow pullback in a bull market. We can be pretty aggressive in those situations. Let those bears try a couple times. Use stops as fuel, and again, these will oftentimes punch up because everybody that's caught off guard by them, and we can go out and then find those trap entries. The bottom line is I'm going to find that new channel, right, and draw off that channel or off that high and grab that first test. Could be any of the entry patterns we've talked about so far. We know where the market wants to go, right, because, again, ranges act like magnets. Would love to get this deep pullback because, again, we've had this huge move up this week. And of course, we've yet to see that deep pullback. The last one is that V bottom, right? Not the most desirable, but hey, better be ready for it. If we end up rolling lower and now we don't get the chance to trap those bears in, if they do just rip right back higher here, it'll start to grind. We know where the market wants to go because, again, it's really just one big pullback in a big bullish trend. If it starts to grind up higher, though, yeah, now we know, find that new channel right off the highs, off that low. Most importantly, though, is we go looking for traps, right? And you'll learn about the entry signals for these, but that's the key principle here. If we do kind of spring off of that low, pop up and grind higher, it's all about those trap patterns right off of that low. And again, I like traps. It could be a seller failure pattern, like a failure setup. It could be a strength trade off of that low as well. The key is just kind of getting that first pullback off the low of that channel, right, guys? So as you can see, a lot of similarities here between the crude oil, the Nasdaq, and the S&P. Now we wait. You know, the game plan is put together. The reason why I like to rehearse this game plan with you guys is because tomorrow morning we'll be using this game plan to find the best trades tomorrow in our trade room, starting off at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Which reminds me, if you're looking for a place to come out and learn and trade along, you know, if you're tired of missing the best trades or if you're making too many mental mistakes, every morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time, we do it together. I'll put all the membership links. I will definitely put the free course links. It would definitely be a good idea to start there on the free trading course. Learn the core setups, start making money on your own account, and that way you're primed and ready to go for trading with us as a new member, a new student in our trade room here. If you have any questions, if you need any help with getting into anything, right, the free course, membership classes, whatever it is, definitely call the office. That's the easiest way to get help. We're always here too on live chat, so definitely don't be afraid to email or call or use live chat. We're here to help if you need help along the way. All right, guys, as always, thank you so much for tuning in and especially sticking around all the way to the end of the video here tonight. I know it's the end of the month, end of the quarter, so we're all busy people, so thank you so much for sticking around all the way to the end. Have a great rest of your evening. The game plan is ready tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow morning in the morning trade room. If not, we'll come back tomorrow night and we'll get ready for the end of the month right on Thursday night into Friday. Guys, my name is Joseph. Be well. Be nice to each other and be here next time. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.